Alright guys, last video. This is Imperialism number 10. I hope you're not shedding tears at the end of this one. Alright, so this is what's going on. We are dealing with Mexico. Alright, so we have taken control down there and we passed this thing called missionary diplomacy. The idea that we're not going to recognize a government if it becomes a government in a messed up way. So Mexico, people are getting poorer and poorer, and landowners and politicians are getting richer and richer. So that gap between rich and poor is getting very large. The guy in charge, his name is Diaz, and he's a military dictator with lots of U.S. investment. We like him, and it's because of the fact that there's lots of U.S. investment. Diaz gets ousted by a guy by the name of Madero, who promises democratic reforms. Now, Madero couldn't solve some disputes that were going on within the government, so the general takes power over Madero, and then he kills Madero. As a result, the United States can't recognize Huerta's government because of the way that it gained control, and that's a result of the missionary diplomacy. If you need me to go through that again, just rewind it and click play. Wilson refuses to recognize Huerta's government due to the fact that they gained power through like a military takeover. That's called a coup, for those of you that don't remember that. We've talked about that like 2 or 3 times before this year. So Wilson's like, we're going to do this thing called watchful waiting. So basically he's like, we're just going to wait for him to mess up and then we're going to use that against him. So this is what happens. A bunch of it was like 4 American sailors get arrested, all right? The Mexican government doesn't realize they're Americans until it's too late. And then once they realize they're Americans, they're like, oh crap. And then so they quickly release them and then they apologize. They're like, dude, we're so sorry, guys. We didn't mean to. We didn't know what was going on. They thought that something else was. It's our bad. But Wilson uses this to intervene and basically say they're capturing these random Americans, and so the United States is going to step in. And we're trying to take Huerta out of government. These random countries that we've never seen before are going to step in. You got Chile, Argentina, and Brazil. They're like, whoa, that's not cool. Let's not do that. In the meantime, Huerta's regime is going to collapse, and a new guy's going to step in. His name is Carranza. He's going to become the leader, and he gets recognized by Wilson. All right, so I know that's kind of a crazy set of things that happens, but basically it all works out in the end for the United States, and we recognize Carranza's government. But what happens is these 2 guys, Pancho Villa, you might have heard of him, Pancho Villa, and Emiliano Zapata become really upset with the fact that the United States recognizes Carranza's government because they think Carranza is corrupt. So what happens is Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata are going to attack the United States. They basically have their own little groups of people that they're going to use to attack the United States. So what they do is they attack a town in New Mexico. They also kill some train engineers that they trick into coming into Mexico, and as a result the United States is going to have to track this guy down. So we get a guy by the name of General Pershing, who you will learn about at the beginning of next year because they call him Blackjack Pershing. He's going to become a World War I hero. So Pancho Villa is actually eluding our military. The problem is the United States can't go into Mexico to track him down because if we do, that means we're going to go to war. So, because we're really close to going to war, Mexico passes a law that puts the government in control of the oil and mineral resources. So what that means is the private companies from America that were invested in oil and mineral resources just lost all their money and interest there because the Mexican government has now taken ownership of that. And those of you that have been thinking, that's a step towards socialism. Whenever the government steps in and takes control, that is a socialist idea. Also, the U.S. is facing a possible war in Europe named World War I. Then this happens, and again, you'll go over this again next year. It was called the Zimmerman Note, and what you have is you have Germany here, and this is Mexico. There is a note that is sent from Germany to Mexico that gets intercepted by the United States. Germany did not want the United States entering World War I, so they say, hey, Mexico, if you start a war with the United States, we're going to give you some of the land back that the United States stole from you in the 1830s. All right? It says join with Germany and you get a bit of the United States. All right? So that was the idea behind the Zimmerman Note. Here's just a slide to kind of show you what who the presidents were and what their policies are. I am done. For those of you that are my students, it was fantastic having you in class this year. I hope you guys learned a lot. And that you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a fantastic summer. Please make sure that you are doing all the work, and I'm going to be posting on Google Classroom when it's due and when I'm going to accept work at the end, and I'm sure Mr. Eckert's going to be doing the same thing. Have a fantastic summer, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and much love to all of you. Slaughter out!